Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything movies, TV, comics, and entertainment. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to an all-new edition of Fanlight Zone Presents. My name is Ken M. You know me as the host of the ODPH podcast, and I'll see the other chief here at FLZ. To my left, you're right at home. He's one of our featured comic editors, and you know him as the host of 607 TWS, The Wrestling Show. Please give a warm welcome to Rich.
Well, it is time to do yet another amazing interview with some amazing creators, so call me excited.
How could you not be excited? Because coming in July is a book that will take you back to the ages of Hanna-Barbera. Those all ages conflict stories that just are really going to captivate you. And obviously, when you have a catalyst figure that is defined by as the ape, you know you have something special. And of course, knowing who is the creators behind this, from such projects as the Fallen series, Herculoids, Nera, The Complete Alice in Wonderland, amongst many more, you know you have a hit on your hands, and that is going to be coming from Papercutz and Mad Cape Studios, because Nothing Can Stop the Ape is dropping in July, and we are fortunate enough to have the writers on the line with us. So please give a warm welcome to Tom SNIEGOSKI and JEANNINE ACHESON. Guys, what's going on?
Hello.
Hello. Lots of things.
Well, yes, obviously a lot of things are going on, and especially with this book, like we got a chance to see it. No spoilers for anybody, but trust us, you don't want to miss this when it drops in July. How did this whole story come to be?
This one started with Tom, like 30 years ago?
It's like this was an idea that I have been playing with for probably close to 30 years.
Wow.
And never got it right. It was one of those things where I would be excited, I would sit down, I would bang stuff out on the keyboard, I would talk to an artist, the artist would get excited, we'd both be excited, and it wouldn't gel. There was just something about it that wasn't working. It used to be much darker, much more horrific. It went all over the place. And it just never happened. I mean, though it would always resurface in my mind, I'd be like, oh God, Nothing Can Stop the Ape. Maybe this is the time it'll work. And it just wasn't working. And I think around the time that JEANNINE and I started working with each other, for some reason, what it was? I had wanted a publisher to pick up the Herculoids, which eventually it did happen, but nobody wanted it at the time. And I suddenly was like, well, wait a minute. What if the ape concept could be made to be like an old Hanna-Barbera cartoon?
Yeah.
So I mentioned it to JEANNINE. JEANNINE was like, oh, that's an interesting take. And the story evolved. It finally started to move. It finally started to be what I thought it wanted to be when she got involved and we did the Hanna-Barbera angle. And then we got Craig Rousseau on board, and everything just kind of fell into place.
Yeah.
Really?
We were talking about the Herculoids, and I remembered them too. We're about the same age. And we started talking about it. We started talking about all the Saturday morning cartoons that we used to watch. And one of my favorites was Johnny Quest. Like, I just loved it. I loved the theme song, and it was just so much fun to watch. And then I think that was the key that kind of brought everything together. We were like, oh, that's what it needs. It needs to be kind of like, just like that nostalgic 60s, 70s thing. And it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But until then, it was just eluding me. No matter how I attempted to do something with it, I was like super excited. I wanted to do it more than anything, but it just wasn't gelling. It just wasn't ever coming together. Even Mignola was like, "That's the greatest title I've ever heard," and I'm like, "Right," and I can't do anything with it.
It was like the impossible dream.
Yes.
That finally.
Yeah. I mean, I can go into my computer files and find like multiple versions, over the years. Like even I can even find artwork.
Yeah, you had artwork too.
Wow.
from artists that were almost involved, and it just never happened.
Wow. But now here we are.
Yes.
We finally got here. And now that we know how the story kind of came about, it's now time for the famous elevator pitch. Now, I'm going to clarify this because now I've been saying to people all the time to do the elevator pitch. And then when they go long, they're like, oh, that wasn't quite the pitch. You can go as long as you want. Let everybody know who might not know what Nothing Can Stop the Ape is all about.
Oh, man.
I love how people pause. Like they get
You got to build that up. You got to build that up.
Do you want me to try to do the elevator pitch?
to the elevator.
Okay. It's about a little boy named Maxwell, whose mother is an archaeologist, and who on an archaeological dig accidentally discovers the corpse of this ancient goddess. And in discovering the ancient goddess, she becomes possessed by the spirit of the goddess, who has decided that the world that she left before passing into this kind of like almost like a hibernation state, she doesn't particularly care for what's happened to the world, and decides that she's going to remake it in her own image because she's disappointed. Now, Maxwell wants his mom back, and in different ways, like hooking up with some reincarnated prehistoric superheroes, decides that the only way he's going to bring her back is to make a deal with an ancient deity of chaos, which is Garagenda the ape. And basically it's him trying to convince the ape to take out his mortal enemy, which is Thuna, the goddess of order. So it's kind of like the bad guys kind of have switched place. The good guy is the bad guy, and the bad guy is the good guy. And
unwillingly, but
unwillingly. And then hilarity ensues.
That touches me because as a wrestling fan, as we're doing a wrestling stuff, it's what they call the old-fashioned double switch. The good guy becomes the bad guy becomes the good guy, and it's when done right, which it is in this book. Once again, no spoilers, but we did get a chance to read it. When done right, it's a very, very effective and very awesome.
Yeah, and especially like with your writing, you've had characters that have been a little darker over the years. Looking at Vampirella and Nira, to name a few. When you're writing an all ages story, was there ever a notion like you're drifting in the more serious territory, or was it, did you kind of find yourself pulling back? Because I know you alluded to it as like it was more darker, more in that territory. It's like, when did you know at that moment, like, okay, we got to really pull this back?
When our editor told us to tone it down a little. There were a couple of instances where in our original script, like people died, there was blood, things were dire. And we got this list, I think after we had done our initial like story
like the outline. Yeah,
this giant list shared with us, like there can be no blood, nobody can die on screen. Like it was like, this is all ages, meaning little kids are going to read this too. And there were just a couple of instances where we had to kind of pull back on carnage.
But at the same time, I think we found a way around it.
Yeah, I think it worked.
Yeah. Not getting rid of it completely, but just approaching it from a different angle.
Yeah.
Which made it more acceptable to me because we weren't losing anything.
Yeah.
We were just doing it a little bit differently.
Nice. Because I got to imagine that just has to be such a fine line to walk, because you're thinking for the broad audience of all ages, but then it's like just where the story goes, and just sometimes you catch yourselves like, wait, this would really be cool if this could work, but I don't think this can. And
honestly, a lot of publishers, I've worked with a bunch of different publishers, and each one has a different level. So in some, I could have gotten away with stuff a little harder, but in others, it's kind of like, oh no, we don't want to do that because of blah 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 blah. So it's almost like you have to kind of almost like see what the publisher expects and what the publisher wants from certain moments in the story and stuff. So yeah,
definitely get that. And I mean, in this day and age, the year 2026, of course, things are a little bit different, because like I'm sitting back, like hearing like you talk about like pulling it back, and it's like when I was a kid, like the kids movies were things like Gremlins. And Legend was basically a family movie, and The Dark Crystal is a family movie, so they were a little edgier. There was a little more what nowadays I don't think anybody would like approve of their children to watch. So it's kind of like, it's weird. So I think that's probably where the publishers lie too, depending upon what generation they came from. It was more acceptable for us to have like push the envelope, if you will, with our family entertainment. So it's kind of different, but it's kind of awesome, like seeing the finished product, having that to see that
Yeah.
you guys really pulled it off.
Yes.
Yeah, we were proud of. We're really proud of how. I mean, especially you could go into my skull, and there's all these various incarnations of this story. So to actually see one that made it out,
Yeah.
look at it, and go, all right, this is what it is.
Yeah.
This is what it was. It's not all this crazy shit that's fighting inside my skull right now. This is what it ended up being. So.
Oh yeah, and like I said, being able to see it, I'll tell you, it came out awesome and amazing, and that's coming from an adult reading it. So it's going to be awesome when everybody else gets in. Another part that makes it really awesome, you mentioned earlier, Craig Russo is the artist on the book. Amazing work in this, fantastic. When you're doing the book, what made him the perfect choice for this when it all came about?
That's a really good question, because it was before he was working with you on the Herculoids, right?
I think it was like right before the Herculoids, but we had worked together on Young Hellboy. So I think you, as Janine had seen those pages as they were coming in, so she got to know Craig and Craig's work and stuff. And I think it was just one of those things where it was like, I think he's the right guy. I think he's the choice, because he has that kind of, there's a lightness to it, but at the same time, there's more than meets the eye in Craig's artwork, which I find kind of fascinating. There's more to it. It looks simple, but at the same time, the more you look at it, it's not. In terms, so if that makes any sense at all,
it definitely does. Like I said, from coming in, I know where the spoilers are, and no spoilers for the folks, but like being the fact of reading it and seeing it, like it does, it comes across very Saturday morning cartoonish as far as like the actual art, but then there is a lot of detail in it. So it's like, once again, it's not like, so if you were to just like flip through, like, let's say you're a younger reader and you're just flipping through, it's gonna catch your eye. But as an older reader flipping through, you're gonna get your eye caught by like different things. Like it's gonna be like, oh, wait a minute, there's this in this photo, and oh, there's this other thing over here. So like it's kind of like it's weird because it is complex in a way, but it's simplistic. It looks simplistic, but there's a complexity to it. So it's confusing, but it does make sense.
Yeah, on its face, it's very simple, but when you really look at it, it's like there's movement, there's depth to the characters, and so
his
cool.
storytelling is really good. I mean, what we give him in our panel descriptions and stuff, he can do in the simplest way, but it's exactly what we were asking for. So
I was gonna say the facial expressions look amazing. Like that was one of the things that I noticed. Very like the storytelling of just the facial expressions, they match up really well with the scene. So and once again, you don't usually run into that when you're dealing with the quote unquote simplistic art form. So that's why I said that's where it comes in.
Yeah, there's a couple scenes, and I wish I could say them, but I can't. That really stand out for that reason alone too. But that's why I say everybody needs to go get Nothing Can Stop the Ape when it comes out. So going back to how this is a very heavily influenced Hanna-Barbera theme book, what about that era do you both feel is so timeless that this still is just as impactful as it was way back when?
I think for me, it's just the nostalgia of it, and that I don't know, like we grew up in the 60s and the 70s, and I feel like, I don't know, that was just a really cool time to grow up. Things were different. I don't know. I just like I had it probably Tom too. We had really good childhood, and just part of that was, I don't know, the stuff that shaped us, like Hanna-Barbera earlier on, but then like things like Kolchak or things like Dark Shadows, like all of that stuff was just, it was great. It was a great era for like TV, and so I don't know. I think for me, it's like the nostalgia of it.
What's interesting for me is that I think back on, like, for example, sitting watching the Herculoids. I'd never seen it before. So this is there was nothing for me to go, oh, that's just like that. I was too young. This was all it was forming me. It was basically making me the creature that I am now. I mean, it's very formative. It's very like that Herculoid stuff just embed, like Herculoids and Space Ghost and all, just cemented in my brain, and I just carried it. Like it was always there somewhere as my writing career developed and stuff. It was always part of all the other stuff that came after. It's just very, very formative.
Oh yeah. I mean, I still think that era of animation and cartoons, it still holds up because it's still at its core, the storytelling and the creativity still is just, is just bursting on every scene.
Yeah.
that when you're watching those cartoons, like I don't feel like, they're I mean, they're dated, so to speak, with the animation, sure. But for the story aspect, good versus evil and what it entails, it's still a relevant theme.
Yeah.
And it's still one that, like, I think is now a younger generation is now going back and checking that out. I think it's really being impactful. Like when you talk about, readers now go and checking out the Herculoids or Space Ghost and the work that's being done on those books. And just to name a few,
Right.
It's just that concept, I think is timeless. And I think with this book, like being a little bit of like an homage to that era, you can definitely sense that. Cause like I say, the storytelling involved in this is top notch.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, there's a lot of great stories in that realm still, as you pointed out, especially in comics. So, the Space Ghost, Herculoids, et cetera, et cetera. We could go on, but those shows are still on. Like the testament of time of the Hanna-Barbera stuff that still plays and kids still watch it. And I think that's why, is because there's such a rich story there. And as somebody who is always greedy as a consumer, after reading this and having all the Hanna-Barbera stuff, I think now you guys need to give us a Magilla Gorilla stuff. Let's get to the copywriting for that. I know I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but well, whoever we have to talk to over there,
put it out in the universe.
Let's go, because that is a big ape as well. So
Yes.
But arguably one of the most complex, yet the most focused on, if in a lot of ways, characters in this is, of course, Maxwell Morgan, who is, a child. And it really does bring something to this. But as that character, I said complex because there seems to be more to him than just, your ordinary kid. When you're writing, the Maxwell Morgan character, kind of what was the inspirations and what can you tell us more about how he shapes?
I taught 7th grade English for 15 years, and I feel like Maxwell is kind of like just a composite of all like the really cool kids that I met over the years. And some of them were like, the straight A student and ones who played sports all seasons, like those really well-rounded kids, but also the really quirky kids who are like a little bit awkward. Like those were generally my favorite, like the ones who liked drawing or the ones who, liked Guitar Hero or whatever. So I feel like it's almost like a little bit of an homage to like all the students that kind of filtered through my classroom over the years. So
that kind of does shine through.
Yeah.
He is kind of the mixture of every kind of type, if you will. And I mean, not, obviously what we do here, he's got the nerdy sense. He's the very intelligent, very astute, but also very athletic, very, he's climbing up and down things, and it's crazy to stuff. So yeah, it really is a great composite.
Kind of like just a little tiny piece of everything. All the little boys who went through my life. They're so sweet.
And then as we talk about the conflict between Thunna and the ape, it's a very complicated, like we touched upon it a little bit. When the original concept was coming out, did this really detour into the final product? Because as we alluded to, it's kind of like a double switch in the roles.
Yeah. I think there was always that idea that the bad guy has to kind of assume the guise of a good guy. I think that was always there. The Thuna stuff, I'm not 100% sure. Actually, I think originally, she was named Amara originally. And the Amara is the name of another character Janine and I used in Soul Taker. So when it came to that, I was like, oh, it can't be named Amara anymore because we've already used the name. So scrap that off the list. Yeah. But yeah, I think we always had the bad guy assuming the guise of a good guy and kind of almost, I don't want to say fooling everybody, but kind of in order to get what he wants, he has to do this.
Right.
So I think that was always there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's definitely, without giving too much away, there's way more going on with him that meets the eye.
Oh yeah. He's way smarter than everyone.
Yeah.
Else. Yeah.
Like his intelligence level and some of the things he does.
Yeah.
And I have to really make sure I word this correctly because I don't want to leak anything out. It really makes you pause and go, oh, he's playing chess while everybody else is playing some other board game at times. Like it's just where he's seeing the board play out, and especially with Thuna, and just how that conflict just evolves throughout the entire course of the book. Like it's not just at one aspect that everything switches. It's a constant evolution, which I think is just such a fascinating thing for the story itself.
Yeah. I think when you first meet him, he kind of comes across as almost just like a monster.
Mm-hmm.
But then you suddenly, when he speaks and he actually has a conversation with Maxwell and stuff, it's kind of like, oh, wait a minute, there's definitely more to him than we thought originally. He's not just a monster.
Yeah, I can definitely agree, because when you first meet him, like, monster's the best way. Because I was going to say, going back with the pun, he does come across as like a big dumb ape in the beginning,
right?
Like you have that back and forth, and you're like, oh, okay, and then later on, you're like, oh, wait a minute. And I think that initial, what you initially saddle him with as the reader, then takes on its life of its own. Because then when things start to happen, I think it starts to surprise you more, because you have this initial like impression that this is what this character is, but then the character is like a lot more. And I think that's kind of a cool way. And it's also kind of like an ingenious way in a family book to, in my opinion, to kind of like teach, if younger readers, especially, like, just because somebody is, you assume somebody's this way, they really aren't. So I thought that it was kind of actually a really cool learning curve.
Yeah, it's a good life lesson.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm all about the life lesson.
I was gonna say, but it's in there like that era. That is just another aspect I love.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, you can read stuff into it, but then once again, the message coming from it is amazing.
Yes.
Like, and that's the cool part. Even if the intent is like, oh, it's entertaining, I find that sometimes the most impactful things are just put there so they're not overly didactic, because then people start to turn away from it. But if you throw something in there and you're like, oh, this is how it, and you take it and you can infer it, it's perfect. Speaking of inferring, and speaking of characters and building in their progress, we have a lot of great characters in this book. And did any of them surprise you as you were writing them, as you were going through, as you were creating this world? Did any of the characters like, oh, I thought that this was just a secondary character, but now that character has become kind of like, wow, I love doing this character?
I think I probably like doing the elementals. I think that they were a lot of fun, and they kind of, at first, I think they were just kind of like, okay, they were Thuna's
henchmen, kind of.
Yeah, they were hers. But then after a while, like, they kind of came into their own, I think. And once we started giving them dialogue, and once we started kind of exploring what we could do with them, they became a lot more, I don't know, precious to me. Like, I really love them.
I think they became a lot more important to the story than we thought they were going to be. They started to become more of an integral part of the actual story, as opposed to just, all right, these guys have to do this to move us to the next spot. They actually became important to the story.
Yeah. And they were really fun to write. I especially like Rock. He's, I think, probably my favorite.
Rock is cool. The whole word balloon, the pictures in the word balloon. That was really funny.
That was fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that is amazing and fun about this book, and we can't stress that enough. Now let's throw you a couple fun questions here before we end things. Obviously, this is based heavily influenced on Hanna-Barbera. What was your favorite Saturday morning cartoon growing up?
I have no Herculoids was it for me. I mean, that thing just latched onto me, and I took that everywhere I went. I mean, I can remember the earliest days of my career thinking, I'm going to write that book someday. Somebody's going to get that license.
That's wild. I think mine was probably Johnny Quest.
Okay.
Like, that's the one that I looked forward to the most, I think. And it could have been just because of the theme song, because I used to dance to it, but it was, it's my favorite.
Both great choices.
Johnny Quest just had such a unique feel.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't really anything like that before or even kind of after. I mean, it's super, super unique.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially in that realm. Absolutely. Yeah. When you're thinking about it, it was definitely ahead of its time in a lot of ways. And I still think now it probably still hasn't really quite caught up to it. Now that we know some of your favorite Saturday morning cartoons, this is one of fun. We are in the era of crossovers in comic books, especially, and crossovers everywhere, but comic books especially. So if we're gonna put this on the shelf, and I know Tom, you waited forever for somebody to get the licensing for the Herculoids, but let's just say that we can offer you any licensing at all. Copyrights be damned. You don't have to worry about it. If you could cross over, nothing can stop the ape with any other property. What would you cross it over with, and why?
Oh God, that's actually kind of easy.
Okay.
I do Hellboy in a minute.
Oh,
that's good.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. Oh God, that'd be so simple. It'd be simple and really fun, but just because of the two personalities.
Mhm.
He's a god of chaos, and Hellboy's job is to get rid of stuff like that. So yeah, that kind of writes itself.
Maybe.
What do you think, Janine?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Nothing jumps out at you. How about Nothing Can Stop the Ape in the Archies?
Oh, that would be interesting.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Oh my God.
I was going to say, well, the one that jumped out to me, because obviously Elementals, you could go with Captain Planet.
Oh, that's true. If you wanted to do another cartoon stuff, yeah.
That was the one that came to mind, because I was like, oh, the Elementals. I really dug the Elementals in this book, and of course, Captain Planet is based all upon that. So it'd be kind of interesting as to how that all worked together.
Yeah. I had Space Ghost for me, but I love Space Ghost. I'm a huge Space Ghost fan. So that's like with Tom with the Hercules, that's for me in Space Ghost. So
there you go.
So obviously with the cartoon aspect, if you could cast voice actors,
oh God,
for Thuna, the Ape, and Maxwell, who would you cast?
Wow.
Honestly, for Maxwell, Luke Speakman.
Oh, okay.
There's this young actor. He's probably about Maxwell's age, and he voiced young Bentley in Tom's dramatic podcast of Grim Death and Bill the Electrocuted Criminal.
Okay.
And he was amazing, because we get to watch the recording of the podcast, and this kid came in and he just he was amazing to watch, and he gave like 1,000%.
Yeah, and I think at the time he was probably about 10, so he's got to be like 12 by now.
Yeah, and he was in Weapons.
That's right.
He played Josh Brolin's son.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's terrific. Yeah, Janine, that's really good.
Right?
Yeah, I think I would go for Garagenda, the Ape. I think Clancy Brown.
Ooh, that would be good.
I could, perfect.
Yeah,
that would be great. I was gonna go right on the nose, because for Rock, we were just going with the Rock.
This is all visual though.
Well, I mean, it would live action. That would be a great visual.
Oh, live action would be amazing.
He looks like a mountain of a man. But I just thought it would be funny, because it's like right on the nose. Like, just do the same character. Why not? So we know we got this coming up. We got Nothing Can Stop the Ape, which everybody should pick up. Make sure you grab a hold of that. But do you have any future projects that you can talk about coming out?
God, we got to
talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
We don't want you to get in trouble. Yeah, we don't want to get you.
I always have to kind of like go. What?
I know which one. Well, we have a Grim Death novella.
A new Grim Death novella
that will be coming out probably next year with Bad Hand Books, the same people who did Nera.
Okay.
So we'll have a couple of those.
What else? I know
they haven't.
Which one?
With Brian P.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know if that's been announced yet.
It hasn't been announced.
We have a Halloween project coming out.
Okay.
Halloween.
Yeah.
That will be announced, I think, within the next month or two.
Yeah, because I think it might be going through a crowdfunding thing. So they would have to do that.
They haven't announced it yet.
I don't think they've announced it yet.
And then
there's one thing that's on the tip of my tongue, and I know somebody told me I could talk about it, but I don't know if I trust them.
Okay,
then don't do
safe
it.
than sorry.
I don't know if I can trust them. They said, "Oh yeah, you could talk about that because we haven't done the official announcement, but you could talk about it." And there's part of me that's like, I think they probably want to do an official announcement before we.
I always go better safe than sorry.
Yes. Yeah. We don't want you to get the emails from the publisher. We don't want to get the emails from the publisher saying you got to take this episode down and edit immediately. But there's a lot of stuff to be excited for with the writing.
Yeah, we have stuff. There's lots of stuff. Yeah, we'll come back when we can talk about it.
Perfect. Let's make that happen, because after everybody checks out Nothing Can Stop the Ape, they're going to want to see more of what you're writing, because obviously everything you guys have done has been great. And this is going to be a book. No matter what age you are, there's something in it for you. For a younger reader, this is going to absolutely knock your socks off. And then if you're an older reader, there's so much layered details in this that when you read it once, you might miss something. Because honestly, I did my first time and I went back and was like, oh. And to get that reaction out of a story, that's what we want as comic fans. That's what we want as readers in general. We want to have that moment that leaves that lasting impression on us and makes us say we want more of this. So Tom and Janine, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. We definitely have to talk down the road.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Always, of course. On behalf of Rich and myself, thank you again for checking out another edition of Fanlight Zone Presents. We'll see you next time.
It's such waste of time, swiping left and swiping right on people you could know. Cause anyone who's worth a damn be worth way more than a picture could ever show. You could find the right light, find the right angle, and never find your soul. And it can feel like a losing battle, and this plot is full of holes. This modern way of finding love just makes me feel so alone. And I can't be the only one sick of staring at my phone. So look up, talk to me, a better way to spend our energy. Just look up, talk to me. We don't have to float alone on the open sea. Don't know that I believe in the old time fable. Everyone has just one true love. All I know is you're across this table, and you're all I'm thinking of. So look up, talk to me, a better way to spend our energy. Just look up, talk to me. We don't have to float alone on the open sea. Talk to me. Talk to me. It's such waste of time, swiping left and swiping right on people you could know.